Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive into something really cool? We're going to be talking energy storage today, but with a twist. Think nitrogen.
Yeah, it's not what you'd expect, right? But this technology, it's called CGESS, and it could be a real game changer when it comes to renewable energy.
CGESS. Okay, so where'd you hear about this?
I was reading this blog post, just came out a couple days ago. Innovations in compressed gas energy storage systems.
Mhm.
Catchy, right? They really get into the nitty-gritty of CGESS.
So CGESS, break it down for me. Like, why do we even need something like this?
Okay, so you know how everyone's all about solar and wind power these days?
Can't get enough of them.
Right, but there's a catch. They're not always consistent. The sun sets, the wind dies down.
And suddenly, no more power.
Exactly, that's the problem. So
Yeah.
we need a way to store that energy to kind of smooth things out, and that's where CGESS comes in.
So it's like a battery, but for all that extra solar and wind power.
Kinda, except instead of chemicals, it's all about compressed gas. Imagine a really, really powerful bike pump. You use it to pressurize nitrogen in these huge tanks.
Hold on, I got to stop you right there. Nitrogen. Like the stuff we breathe.
Yep, that's the one. It's abundant, it's cheap, and it can handle some serious pressure.
Okay, so we're pumping nitrogen into these tanks. How much are we talking, like a can of tennis balls worth?
Oh, way more. Picture those giant water tanks you see on farms. This system uses two of those, each holding 1,000 liters.
Whoa, okay, 2,000 liters of pressurized nitrogen? I mean, that just sounds like a recipe for,
An explosion.
yeah, kind of.
Don't worry, they've got safety features in place. But yeah, the pressure gets intense. We're talking 300 bar.
300 bar, remind me again what a bar is? Is that like pounds per square inch or?
It's a unit of pressure. Think of it this way. 300 bar is like being 1,000 feet underwater. A whole lot of pressure.
Okay, yeah, I get the picture. We've crammed all this nitrogen into these giant tanks. Now what? How do we actually USE this stored energy?
Okay, so when you need power, you release the pressurized nitrogen from one tank to the other. And as it flows, it spins a turbine, which in turn powers a generator, and boom, you've got electricity.
So it's like opening a shaken soda bottle, but instead of a sticky mess, we get clean energy.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
a pretty elegant system.
Elegant, but with that much pressure involved, I gotta ask, what happens if something goes wrong? Are we talking about a potential nitrogen bomb here?
A nitrogen bomb, I guess you could call it that, but they've thought of that.
Okay, good, because exploding tanks aren't exactly my idea of renewable energy. So what's stopping these things from turning into, giant metal popcorn?
Well, for starters, those pressure relief valves we talked about, think of them like emergency exits for the nitrogen. If the pressure gets too high, they kick in automatically, releasing the gas safely.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about like regular wear and tear? Or just, something malfunctioning?
They've got that covered too, the whole system. It's constantly monitored, so if anything seems off, they can shut it down before it becomes a problem.
So it's like a pressure cooker with a really, really good safety valve.
There you go. That's a good way to put it. Honestly, it's probably safer than your average gas station.
Okay, that's reassuring. But let's talk about the tanks themselves for a second. This blog post, they really go into detail about the design, the shape, the materials. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, it's not just a matter of grabbing any old tank and filling it with nitrogen. There's a lot of engineering that goes into making sure these things can handle the pressure.
I bet. Like, what kind of shape are we even talking about here? Are we talking giant beach balls?
Yeah.
Cubes?
Nope, cylinders, that's the key.
Cylinders? Why cylinders?
It's all about pressure distribution. With a cylinder, the pressure from the nitrogen, it spreads out more evenly. Less stress on the walls.
So less chance of
a rupture.
Yeah,
That wants that.
definitely not. Anything else about the design that helps keep these things from going rogue?
Oh, yeah, they mentioned using some super strong materials, obviously. And get this, they even round the ends of the tanks.
Round the ends?
Yeah.
Why?
It's like, think of a dome on a building. It helps to distribute the pressure more evenly, again, so there are no weak points.
So no corners for the pressure to, like, build up in.
Exactly. They've really thought of everything.
Okay, I'm impressed. But all this talk about safety and design kind of makes me wonder, why go through all this trouble in the first place? What's the big payoff with CGESS?
Ah, the million-dollar question. Remember how we were talking about the biggest hurdle with solar and wind power?
Being unreliable?
Yeah.
Like a flickering light bulb?
Exactly. CGESS, it has the potential to change all that. Imagine no more worrying if a cloudy day is going to mean you can't charge your electric car.
Or if the wind dies down, the lights go out?
Right. CGESS, it's like this giant backup battery for the entire grid.
So when the sun's blazing, the wind's cranking, we can store all that extra energy.
And then when things calm down, boom, we've got a reserve power source ready to go.
Fewer blackouts, even when Mother Nature isn't cooperating. I like it. But let's be real, all this sounds amazing, but what about the cost? This has got to be expensive, right?
Well, cost is always a factor, isn't it? I saw this comment on the blog post, actually, from someone named Kinsley, who was talking about how electricity used to be as cheap as water.
Right, the good old days. Though, let's be honest, those simpler times, they had their own set of problems.
Oh, for sure. But Kinsley's comment, it got me thinking about affordability. You know, one of the reasons energy costs have been going up is because our grid, it's not really designed for renewables. We're constantly having to adjust output from traditional power plants to make up for the ups and downs of solar and wind.
So it's inefficient.
Exactly. Like trying to run a marathon, but you're constantly speeding up and slowing down. You're going to waste a lot of energy that way.
And money. So you're saying with a system like CGES, we could smooth out those peaks and valleys, make the whole system more efficient.
Exactly.
And hopefully more affordable.
Precisely.
This is really making me think about the possibilities here. This technology, it could be huge. But, I think we've covered a lot of ground here. Maybe it's time to bring this home for our listeners. So we've been talking about this incredible technology, CGESS, and how it could change the way we store energy. But what does it all mean for you listening at home?
That's the big question, right?
Yeah, like we can talk about these giant tanks, all this pressure, but at the end of the day, how does this impact our lives?
Right.
So imagine for a second that this takes off. We figure out how to really make it work on a big scale, make it affordable. What could that world look like?
It's exciting to think about. Imagine a world where you could power your home with the sun even at night,
Okay.
or charge your electric car using energy stored from your own rooftop solar panels.
You're talking.
No matter the weather.
No more range anxiety even on a cloudy day. But it's not just about individual homes, right? Think bigger. Communities. Places that are off the grid or rely on like diesel generators.
Absolutely. CGES could provide a cleaner, more reliable alternative. Make clean energy accessible to even more people.
Okay.
And it's not just about homes and communities either. Think about all those industries that require tons of energy manufacturing plants, data centers.
Whole cities even.
Exactly. Reliable, on-demand, renewable energy. It's a game changer.
It's like suddenly those futuristic cities that you always hear about powered by 100% renewable energy.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem so far-fetched anymore.
Yeah. It's really interesting to think about. It's like when we first started talking about electric cars.
Right. Everyone was like, yeah, that's a cute idea, but it'll never work on a large scale.
And now look.
Right.
They're everywhere.
Exactly. So who knows, with technologies like CGESS, we could be looking at a similar shift in how we think about and use energy.
Definitely.
It's pretty amazing. What started as just a, deep dive into this blog post.
Yeah.
It's really got us thinking about the future. And who knows, maybe this conversation will inspire someone listening right now to come up with the next big breakthrough in energy storage.
That's the power of curiosity, right?
Absolutely.
It makes you want to explore, ask questions, and who knows where those questions might lead.
Well said. Well, to everyone listening, keep those questions coming, and thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the future of energy.